We thought they'd have it cut off, but they're going to tuck it.
Well, that's good. They're going to have a recurrence of that probably in the next round if they don't cut that off.
There's the end of round one. Didn't take much more time to end it. As again, round two, excuse me, as they go back into the rounds to start conversation here before round number 3. Good look there once again of Sugarboy Malinga. By the way, Malcolm Garrett is working in that corner as well. One of the right-hand men for Cedric Kushner, who travels all over the country. As a matter of fact, if there is any semblance of order in this ring tonight, it must go to Malcolm Garrett. As you take a look at some of the total numbers here on both these fighters here, Charles.
And look at the disparity in total rounds fought. Malinga 281, Jarvis only 97. Malinga's bouts go about twice as long on the average as Jarvis, and there's that graphic. Malinga has gone 10 or more rounds 17 times in his career. Jarvis has only been 10 rounds one time, and that can make a difference, Sam, as Malinga will try to take this bout into the later rounds.
This is one of those fights I don't think will be all that easy to score. It's really somewhat very even with both those first 2 rounds. Neither fighter really taking advantage of the other. Jarvis might have had a slight advantage in round 1, but fairly even in the second round. So no clear-cut favorite here so far. As round number 3 is underway. Malinga in the blue, Jarvis in the black. Jarvis the champion, Malinga trying to steal the title here. And more importantly, get a shot at Lindell Holmes, the IBF super middleweight champion.
You know, Sam, we mentioned that Malinga's undefeated with a 6-0 record against American boxers, and he has not fought sticks. He's fought some good fighters. Nicky Walker, very highly rated super middleweight for a while in America. Vincent Boulware, a guy who was a number 1 or number 2 contender for a while, and Tony Harrison, who won the USBA light heavyweight championship earlier this year, and they had it taken away from him as he tested positive for drugs. But those are 3 guys right there, very formidable opponents for Malinga, and he beat all of them, albeit in his native South Africa. He's fought twice outside of South Africa. One of those was in his title opportunity against Graciano Racchigiani. That was for the IBF Super Middleweight Championship back in January of '89. Losing a 12-round decision to Racchigiani. More awkward a guy to fight than Malinga. A big, tall southpaw. It was a very difficult guy to fight.
You saw Malinga that time round up with that big right hand. He thought he had that one on the button, but it missed, and he almost knocked himself off balance. Not a great deal of style change from rounds 1 and 2 so far here in the third. Jarvis again still up on the toes, still moving well, the champ. Malinga stalking a little bit more as he has throughout the fight. Well, he had some great wars with Saki Horn, who we saw in some earlier fights in Miami. As a matter of fact, he won a light heavyweight title from him. He lost a 12-round decision with a disqualification for a low blow to Saki Horn, but they have had some great wars in South Africa.
You know, and in that first fight with Horn, which was back in October of '86, he got up off the floor in the 11th round to come back and win a decision over Horn. So Horn has taken 2 out of the 3 matches against Malinga so far. They may not be done yet, Sam.
They may not be. You're right. Jarvis snapping off a pretty good left jab here is kind of setting up a right, and again, Sugarboy dropping that left hand, flipping it out, and then following over with a pretty good right hand. There's the right hand again. Jarvis just being invited by Malinga to come in. Is it my imagination, Charles, or is Malinga picking up a little confidence in this third round?
Yeah, he's getting brave, and, you know, Jarvis is not coming forward, throwing that right hand. That's what he needs to do. He's got to get the respect of Sugarboy Malinga here.
And there's the bell to end round 3. Again, if this place gets very noisy, you will not be able to hear that bell, nor will we. It'll be up to the discretion of the referee, who has to step in between them in a hurry. And that time did, as the bell sounded, and the third round is now history. Good look at the champion, John Jarvis. John, again, 34 years of age, 5'11 and a half, 164 for this fight. Hails out of Virginia Beach, now lives in Richmond, Virginia, in the USA. And is currently rated number 4 by the IBF in the super middleweights, but is the Inter-Continental champion right now.
And before this bout, he had never seen Malinga fight. And I think when you go up in the ring against a guy who's awkward and who presents a different style to you, like to see the films of the fighter. So Perhaps Jarvis could have studied a little bit of Malinga, and he might have come out with a different approach in this one. He sort of looks like he's confused and doesn't know exactly how to attack Sugarboy Malinga.
Malinga, by the same token, as we go to round number 4, indicated he had not known that much about Jarvis other than to look at his record and to fear the right hand. So that's the way they prepare for this fight. So both these fighters a little unknown to the other as they step into the ring and now move to round 4. Scheduled for 12 for the title today.
Jarvis says he prefers to fight guys who are taller than him. He holds a 1.5-inch height advantage over Sugarboy Malinga. He feels it's easier for him to punch up at taller guys than to punch down at Malinga, who is exaggerating that even with a crouch. So you've got a guy like Jarvis has to punch down maybe 6-7 inches or more at Malinga when Malinga ducks down like that.
Malinga, a fighter that does like to go to the body, has used very little percentage of that here this afternoon, mostly due to the stand-up style and where Jarvis keeps the elbows. They are just inside on the rib cage. The only way to get to the body is come right up the middle. And Malinga's been able to do that so far here today.
Yeah, Jarvis can't do anything with the jab when Malinga ducks down. No, you lose punching power when you have to punch down, Sam, and that's what Jarvis is finding out here today.
This is really kind of the pinnacle of both these young men's career in the fact that one could certainly be on the downward slide all the way out of boxing, and that's John Jarvis at the age of 34. Malinga at 30 still has some very good years ahead of him, but still you have to win the key bouts, and certainly today would have to be classified as a very key bout for both fighters here today.
And Sam, the referee is urging these two guys to get it on. It's been a chess match so far, and there hasn't been very much action at all.
Referee Mike Boggs, we recall over in Tampa, Florida, in a fight we recently had, told a couple of light heavyweights to start fighting. Come on, let's get on with it. And indeed they did. Turned out to be a great fight.
I heard some referees do blow by blow while they're in the ring with the lavalier microphone.
Big right hand by Malinga, staggers Jarvis.
I think Jarvis may be a little off balance by getting hit by Malinga there.
Jarvis is definitely not the aggressor of the fight now. He was early on. Still up on his toes, but not getting off first. Malinga has definitely turned the attack mode around. Jarvis is still throwing some good punches here,
but not really landing. They're hitting the gloves of Malinga, who's a superior defensive fighter.
Malinga throwing that jab out. Dropping that left hand from time to time. He has it right now, and you made mention they're going to have trouble with that tape, and here it comes again on Malinga's left hand. Yep, here it comes. They'll have to cut it off now. Oh, he's going to tuck it in one more time.
I have no idea why he's doing this. Maybe he doesn't want to send Malinga back to the corner.
Well, they're tucking it in, and that is Luis Estrada. And just as he takes that time to tuck it in, the bell sounds, and that's the end of the 4th round.
Now, why won't the referee now order the corner of Malinga to cut that tape off? It's beyond me.
Maybe waiting for the corner to take the initiative to do so, but Willie's going, hey, my man gets some rest every time he has to do that. Good look at Malinga. Seemed like on the start of our show, of course, we indicated they were having some very relaxed time. But you can guarantee there's some concentrating stares going on in this ring right now. Good look at John Jarvis across the way.
You keep boxing. Keep your hand up from side to side.
And what they've got to tell John Jarvis in that corner, Sam, is to start getting off first. He's not going to get anywhere trying to counterpunch Malinga because Malinga is such a good fundamental defensive fighter that he's going to be able to cover up. Jarvis has to get in there and start hurting Malinga with some shots to the body and to the head.
Round number 5 is here. Still no clear-cut favorite in this one. Champion again, John Jarvis in the black. Sugarboy Malinga, the challenger in the blue.
Sam, I'd have to give 3 rounds to Malinga so far and have one of them even. Although it's pretty hard to differentiate between what they've done. You got to try to score one guy a winner in a round as much as possible.
As a matter of fact, the IBF tells the judges, let's not have any of the 10-10 rounds. They really try to get a clear-cut winner out of each round. Malinga has definitely taken advantage of the fight itself, even though Jarvis was trying to get a little of that back here in the fifth.
Jarvis is just not using really the correct game plan here. He's trying to move and stick and be cute with a guy who is a lot cuter, really, than he is in Sugarboy Malinga. He's got to step in with that right hand and try to inflict some pain upon Malinga. That's the only way he's going to be able to press an advantage here.
Thulani will not back up on him. He'll be coming straight ahead at him all night. And you see, since round one, it has certainly turned to the stalking game here by Sugarboy Malinga.
You know you got to be a good defensive fighter when you're not backing up against anybody and really not using a whole lot of lateral movement, and you still don't get hit that much. And you see the little move with the left shoulder there. Makes a whole lot of difference, Sam. When you're throwing that jab out, coming back, tucking your chin behind the shoulder, makes it hard for Jarvis to land that right hand over the jab.
And another factor for Malinga as well, that if you looked at him on a stand-up, about 65 to 70% of his weight is on the back foot, which means that he has to lunge a little bit to throw the punch, but he's also able to duck out very quickly. Malinga just trying to encourage Jarvis to come in behind the jab. Malinga really flips that jab from the waist. Gets it up there very quickly.
And holding the left hand down, but the shoulder is up. And that almost acts as if a glove were against your chin, because Jarvis will throw that right hand, and most likely he will deflect himself off the shoulder and graze the top of the head of Malinga. There's the take problem again, Sam. This guy's, the referee has got to have them cut that off, and he's finally going to bring him to the corner to do just that.
So they finally will cut it off after tucking it in for the first 4 rounds. Now they'll finally cut the tape off. Again, giving both fighters some rest time as John Jarvis waits in the neutral corner. Now the referee says, let's fight, and they do. And there it is once again. The bell sounds immediately after they go into the corner to cut the tape off. And round 5 is over. Look at Jarvis. Jarvis comes from a big family, 6 brothers and sisters. Charles pointed out, a former carpenter, but now being able to devote all of his time to boxing. And he said he'd like to have just this last hurrah to get himself a world title shot against Holmes.
One of those guys who's been kicking around for a long time, Jarvis. You know, Virginia is not exactly the hotbed of boxing, so as a result, you're not going to get the maximum exposure. So after Jarvis losing those 2 bouts, really not considered an entity in the middleweight division, moved up to super middleweight, won his last fight against another Virginia fighter, Ken Magic Shannon, and now all of a sudden he is here, and a win will propel him into a title shot most likely.
We get ready for round number 6, scheduled for 12 of this championship fight. Referee Luis Estrada talking to the 2 fighters. Try to get something straightened away. You know, Jarvis, the 2 fights that he lost on April and September back in '85 to Darnell Knox and Buster Drayton, again, just absolutely devastated him. He really felt the whole world had kind of collapsed in on him. Didn't fight for 2.5 years.
And that's really one of the things you don't like to see in a fighter. You know, when a fighter loses, you like to see him get back in the gym and say, hey, either I'm going to avenge this loss, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to do some things. One of the things that befell Jerry Cooney was not getting back into the gym and not being active for quite some time after losing to Larry Holmes. If he had done it, maybe it would have been a different career for Jerry Cooney.
Well, particularly when you consider, Charles, the fact that was loss number 1 and number 2 with 21 wins. So we're not talking about a guy that had 8, 9, 10 losses. All of a sudden he gets 2, and it seemed like the whole world came crashing on him. But he's back here after fighting 3 very strong fights, including winning the title over Ken Shannon, and he's defending it for the first time tonight. Sugarboy Malinga again with another solid round. I kind of hasten to score the fight sometimes because I remember against McAtini and scoring against Jeff Lampkin in their fight that we were scoring over in Tampa not so many days ago that the folks back in South Africa had an opportunity to see. We had McAtini on our unofficial card, Robin Welch and myself, winning the last 3 rounds and actually taking lead on the card. Then when the judges turned in their card, it was a sizable lead for Lampkin. So we were maybe judging a little bit with our heart rather than what we saw. So again, maybe we're doing a little of that same here tonight, but still, Sugarboy Malinga ahead on the cards right now.
Well, you know, I had McAtini ahead 4 rounds to 3 at the time of the knockout. Of course, in the 7th round, toward the tail end of the 6th and the 7th round, Lampkin had started with the body attack and started to wear McAtini down. But before that, I thought McAtini was doing quite well. Yet one of the judges gave all 7 rounds to Jeff Lampkin.
That's what shocked me, because I'm glad to hear your scoring card, because I felt like we had missed it so badly. I said, boy, how can we do that? But again, 7-0, no way that fight was a 7-0 through the first 7 rounds for Jeff Lampkin.
Almost everyone I talked to in the crowd and among boxing people that I knew had it 4-3 either way. So a very close fight, a lot closer really than the judges had it, at least in our opinion.
That's too bad for Caesar, because he was fighting very well through 7 rounds. Extremely well. Lampkin finally won it in a TKO in the 8th. We are in the 6th here, championship title fight, Intercontinental Super Middleweight Fan. And it is John Jarvis in the black for the title, and Malinga trying to steal it away.
And one of the things that Luis Estrada is going to have to make Malinga do is to tuck that protective cup inside of his trunks. It's getting out there, and actually a violation of the IBF rules, I believe. You've got to have that protector tucked a little bit further into your trunks, as Jarvis does.
6th round is really works with Sugarboy in the corner. You know, they have the opportunity on their running to go out to a true country club golf course and got to run on some hills here in Colombia. We are not in the mountains as they are in Bogota or Medellin. We're on the northern Caribbean coast of South America in Colombia, but still a up and down golf course. And Sugarboy, along with John Jarvis, both took their turns in running the hills of Colombia this week.
And if Malinga had a little more time, he'd play 18. This guy likes to play golf.
Haven't gotten his mind off the boxing, guessing what his handicap is yet, but we will after this fight, you can guarantee that.
Well, right now, Jarvis's handicap is that he's not being offensive enough and not taking the fight to Malinga enough. And he's going to have to do it because this guy is running out of time. We're in round 7, and right now we're heading toward no man's land for Jarvis, with the exception of that 112-round fight against Shannon. Jarvis has only been 8 rounds, only been more than 8 rounds once, and that was in the Shannon fight.
Charles, I don't think I'll step on the toes of the judges by saying this, but the champion, he comes in, does he get a slight advantage from the judges no matter where he fights, if he is the champion of the IBF or whatever alphabet soup you happen to be talking about?
I'm not so sure that the champion would have that much of a bias in his favor, or either a subconscious bias, in one of these Intercontinental fights. If I were a commissioner or a head of an organization, I would tell my judges to score it as if neither man was the champion, that we were trying to fill a vacant title. I think that's really the fairest way to score a bout.
I wish we could see all the title fights do that. You may recall when Carl the Truth Williams fought Larry Holmes out in the desert. Oh, I had Williams winning that fight very sadly, as a matter of fact. But Holmes, as the champion, came on to get the victory that day. And I'm sure you could go on and on with a list of fights that have gone that way.
And one of the fights that still stirring up some controversy as far as the scoring is the Leonard Hagler fight of April of 1987.
Exactly. Yep.
I still hear people arguing over whether Leonard won the fight or whether Hagler won the fight. Who did you have winning, Sam?
I had Hagler winning it.
I had Leonard winning 7 rounds, losing 3 with 2 even. So, you know, it's all subjective.
Exactly. What side of the ring were you sitting on? That type thing, right? Well, Sugarboy Malinga is finding out that John Jarvis, who's got a little second life here, so to speak, in the 7th round. Just as Charles pointed out, he had to become a little more aggressive. But Malinga doing his best to take that away from him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sam. You know, we thought Jarvis was going to be looking to cut off a ring on Malinga. It's Malinga who is stalking and trying to cut off the ring on John Jarvis. So a little role reversal, at least as far as our perspective of what might happen in this bout.
Malinga's not changed his strategy since round 2. Now, you may recall in round 1 they let Jarvis pretty much be the attacker. And then changed from the second round on as we fight in the 7th. You see Jarvis still slipping some punches away and Malinga having to duck away from him in a hurry. Dan Smith along with Charles J. as we watch this title fight with you in Barranquilla, Colombia. Rihanna's Tile bringing you all of the action back in South Africa. We're glad you could join us tonight. One of South Africa's on in the blue. Sugarboy Malinga doing well here in this title fight. And there's the bell to end round number 7. So Jarvis had a couple of flurries in the middle of the round. Malinga staying busy, though, which tries to encourage him.
How you feel? Double up with the game. When you hook to the body, come back to the
fight, and certainly did a good job of that. Is across the way, that is Ray Brown leading in on the left. While Mac Lewis working in front of Jarvis while we switch back to the other corner. Malinga. Billy Tawil along with Malcolm Garrett working. Well, so far, Sugarboy doesn't look like he's been marked by any kind of a punch. On the other side, Jarvis, no swelling or cuts, even though both fighters have taken some pretty good shots tonight. Now, Charles, this comes the time. 34-year-old John Jarvis, where do the legs start failing you with a heart may be willing, the legs just start to go. We're moving into round number 8 now, this scheduled 12-rounder.
And I've got Malinga ahead 5 rounds to 1 with 1 even. If you go by the basic tenets of what you score a fight by, which are effective aggressiveness, ring generalship, defense, as he's doing the same thing with the tape again. Now he's looked like he was warning Willie Tawil about doing that intentionally, maybe to get Malinga a rest. He's going to make Willie get up there and cut it, I believe.
Willie frantically trying to find some scissors that he tucked away. One of the other corner folks come out of the crowd to help him out. Again, the round has not started yet. The official will officially start it, and there is a chops to start the round.
Now, Sam, as I was saying, as far as defense and ring generalship, Malinga has it all over John Jarvis. Now, in the moments when John Jarvis is being aggressive, he's not being effective with his aggression. So, you know, it's hard to put any rounds in the bank of John Jarvis.
Malinga, again, has not gone to the body as much as we thought he would. Doing a lot of head hunting here so far. This is round 8. Malinga on the unofficial cards now, ahead here at ringside. Would it be he's on his way to an Inter-Continental Championship? Or does John Jarvis rally to take it back?
Well, it's not that Malinga's been overly aggressive himself here. He has not really gone out there and forced the tempo of the fight, but he has, I think, landed the more effective punches in what has been really a tactical bout between these two fellas. A chess match and a fight where the referee, Luis Estrada, has warned the two about not being aggressive enough. That was early on in the bout.
You know, it's great to watch fighters when they come up now. Of course, Malinga at 30 years of age, I'm sure he harkens a few thoughts back. Victor Zulu back in 1981, his first victim. He went on at that time and fought very well. He lost his 4th fight, but then went on to reel off 18 in a row. And, of course, is coming with this record of 31-4 and fighting for a title that could propel him to a world title against Lindell Holmes.
Malinga's on a 6-match winning streak since losing that fight to Graciano Rakhijani. That was a 12-round decision that he lost to Rakhijani back in January of '89. Rakhijani got in some legal problems, had to vacate the title, and Lindell Holmes fought Frank Tate for the vacant title. That was back in January of this year. In fact, I think it was 1 year to the day, January 27th, 1990, 1 year to the day after the fight between Malinga and Rakhijani. And, of course, on the eve of the Super Bowl football game here in America, in New Orleans, the city where the Super Bowl was held, Holmes won that fight over Tate, and Holmes has defended once with a victory over Carl Sullivan ninth round KO back on July the 19th. I'm sorry.
Closing seconds of this, the 8th round. Matter of fact, some of those in the crowd are also getting a little distraught that there's not more action here, as both fighters fighting very cautiously here in the 8th. And there's the bell to end the 8th round. It has been an ebb and flow fight, particularly the early stages, with Malinga again trying to take a little bit of control from basically round 3 on. Fairly even in rounds 1 and 2, with Jarvis aggressive in round 1 particular. Jarvis came back and tried to be a little more aggressive in round 7, but again, Malinga still, as Charles pointed out, not throwing an abundance of punches, but nonetheless he's being effective and still fighting, I think, Charles, in the game plan that they certainly came in well tonight against John Jarvis.
Oh, there's no question about it. Malinga now has Jarvis into the area he wants to get him in. 9, 10, 11, and 12. There's something to be said for being active, Sam. And since September of 1985, John Jarvis has fought only 3 times. Since September of 85, Sugarboy Malinga has fought 18 times. So it really helps to be active, never giving yourself a chance to get some ring rust. And one of the longer inactive periods, really, of Malinga's career since January 30th when he fought Tony Harrison. But Jarvis fought on February 17th, so both of them have been inactive about the same period of time.
Malinga's been very good at his weight. He fought that fight, by the way, at 169. He came in at 168 for this fight. So never any real problem for Malinga on the weight, as he came in here very good, and Jarvis at 164.
And in a period of 4 months, Malinga, this was between June of 86 and October of 86, Malinga went from 160 pounds all the way up to 175 and managed to beat Saki Horn, then came down to 165 and a half for his challenge against Rocket Johnny. So doesn't seem to have a problem putting on or taking off weight.
He's got to be more comfortable here, though, don't you think, Charles, at 165 to 168 or so?
I think he's found the happy medium for himself, and he's found a division which perhaps not as strong at the top as the light heavyweight division is, or maybe even the middleweight division is. And he'll have a much easier path toward getting to a title. He's #1 now. A win over Jarvis will solidify that, and eventually they'll be able to mandate the title shot against Lindell Holmes.
You see Jarvis still trying to be aggressive if he can against Malinga. Malinga throwing that left shoulder up, blocking a lot of punches on the elbow of the glove, and as Charles pointed out, on the shoulder. This really decoys that left shoulder out, just kind of glaring at Jarvis to try to come in with a punch or two.
Yeah, he's not giving Jarvis much of a target to shoot at at all, and I think Jarvis, instead of just throwing punches and trying to wing them to any part of Malinga's body, is trying to aim them for specific parts of Malinga's body, and for that reason, Jarvis is being very tentative and not able to get off really here.
You know, a fighter like Jarvis fighting Malinga, who turns you that left shoulder like that, one weapon it takes away from Jarvis, and I'm not sure that he ever possesses that big, it's a looping right hand. Because first of all, you throw 1 or 2, and it hits Malinga on the back of the head. You don't know how the judges nor the referee might score that. So you've automatically had one of your weapons maybe taken away with the style of Malinga.
And also that straight right hand. If he threw the straight right hand over Malinga's jab, what it would do, it was probably deflect off the left shoulder and maybe glance off the back of Malinga's head. And that's not an effective punch, and it's easy to see that that's not an effective punch, so that will not be scored by the judges.
Both fighters trying to counter with the left jabs. The early warning moment ago you saw with Malinga was to keep a punch up. So he tried to go to the body and get stung for it there. Not done much of that tonight, though. And there's the bell to end round 9. So again, John Jarvis goes into the twilight zone a bit as the 34-year-old veteran with the title goes into the 10th round now with a young man at 30 years of age that wanted for sure to take the fight this long, and now he's got it there.
And Sam, the crowd showing a little displeasure at the way this fight has unfolded. Not a whole lot of action in terms of the slugging, but an interesting fight, and it's interesting to watch how Malinga negates the kind of things that Jarvis wants to do.
Get a good look at both the fighters as they work in their corner. Again, Ray Brown, Mac Lewis across the way with John Jarvis. Willie Tywheel in the corner for...
You got to do just a little more.
Again, the challenger here tonight.
Got to do a little more.
Sugarboy Malinga as we get ready to start the 10th round. And there's the bell to start it. Malinga in the blue, the champion Jarvis in the black. Sam Smith, Charles J. here in Barranquilla, Colombia, South America. It is still daylight here where we watch the fight in South America. Quite late for you back in South Africa. There's the exchange thrown again as Malinga throws that right hand over the top. Neither fighter in this fight so far has appeared to be in any trouble or difficulty. Neither has been staggered. No knockdowns. Not even a glare from the official as far as a thought of being hurt.
It has not been the most exciting fight.
That's true. Even the referee, as you pointed out early on, it encouraged the fighters to fight on. And all of a sudden you find two fighters that are becoming extremely cautious and not wanting to take the advantage. It's almost like, well, let's wait for that corner to make the mistake and we'll just kind of counter with it. Well, we're now in round number 10 and neither corner, for that matter, has made a mistake yet.
And I'll tell you what, looking at Sugarboy Malinga, he is the kind of fighter who can give Lindell Holmes trouble. Holmes loves to throw that straight right hand countering off a jab, and he'd have difficulty landing that against Sugarboy Malinga. Holmes also likes to go to the body, and you'll see a particular stance that Malinga uses where it's very hard to get a clean spot to hit him in the body, especially the way he stands and faces a fighter.
Malinga just pawing him with that jab, pulling it. He's got Jarvis on the chin. Jarvis trying to...
Yeah, good inside right uppercut hurt Jarvis. And another one.
So the uppercut against Jarvis. Jarvis has got a little bit of anxiety in his eyes now because he knows that Malinga has found a punch he likes. Sugarboy Malinga in the blue. The uppercut followed by a good crossing left hand. It's got Jarvis in some trouble. He holds on.
And the legs are weak on the part of John Jarvis. There's no spring in the legs.
This is the 10th round scheduled for 12. Malinga definitely in control of the fight for the title. Clubbing away with the left hand and the right. The uppercut has been the big punch of this fight, though. The right hand up underneath the outstretched gloves of Jarvis. 25 seconds to go in the 10th. Referee Estrada warning Malinga not to hold. Jarvis's corner is going to have to do a real psych job on the champion because he knows he is definitely going into a twilight zone now, and the legs are like spaghetti. And there's the bell to end round 10. Wow, what a round for Malinga. He had been waiting to find the one punch that would get this fight in his advantage, and it took him a long time, but it came in the 10th, and the uppercut was the punch, Charles.
Actually, a series of uppercuts, and he followed up with some left hooks, which weren't as effective because he was slapping with them. Let's take a look at this action here. See the crouch by Malinga, difficult style, and it's hard to see where the punches are coming from sometimes with Malinga.
There it was.
And it looked like a punch to the Adam's apple or thereabouts. And another good right uppercut, Sam, hurts Jarvis. And
well, Charles, they're working feverishly over in that corner with John Jarvis. That's Mac Lewis just stepping out of the ropes. Ray Brown leading over the top. And Jarvis now going into the 11th round and visibly shaken in round 10, but not down. So a solid round for Malinga. Just adds to his unofficial total on our cards here at ringside. And he has the lead unofficially here for the title, as this is the 11th.
Sam, we fought 10 rounds. I've given Malinga 8 rounds to 1 for Jarvis and 1 even. Same old story for Jarvis, not being able to do enough offensively. And to boot, in that round, hurt for the first time. First time either one of these boxers have been hurt in the bout.
We're fairly right on. I've got it 7-1 and 2 even, so we're fairly right on with Sugarboy on our cards. Malinga's fought a very tactical fight. I tell you, Willie's got him fighting just exactly the way he wanted. He came out against Jarvis, knew what Jarvis's big weapon was, the right hand. The turning of the shoulder, as Charles pointed out, is pretty well just taking that weapon away from him.
And you can tell that there's a method to what Malinga is doing. He's going in there not as a fighter who is a boring fighter. You can't look at it that way. You've got to look at it that Malinga has a reason for every move that he makes in the ring, and he's a cerebral kind of a fighter, a kind of fighter that can give, as I said before, a fighter like Lindell Holmes trouble in the ring.
Malinga does not appear to be fighting any differently, even though he runs away from a couple of punches there. Still loading up to throw that right hand.
And Jarvis not going after Malinga like his corner probably hoped he would. Jarvis, it looks like, has sort of given up, at least on winning the fight. Trying to play a game of survival, or trying to play a game of going to the distance here against Malinga.
Changing left hands there, Malinga getting the best of it.
And not a very strong left hook, but nonetheless one that did score.
Good right hand.
An interesting right hand where Malinga simply turns his body around and lets the momentum of his body carry that straight right hand through, and Jarvis walked right into that last one.
By the way, Sugarboy was in Miami, Florida for the Saki Horn fight on Monday night before flying into Barranquilla, and has been here since Tuesday training, and has apparently trained very well, even though he indicated that one of the things he had done is to prepare himself at home. He said, I did all I needed in South Africa. All it was a tune-up here.
Malinga bears a little bit of a resemblance in terms of his fighting style to a world-rated cruiserweight named Mike the Bounty Hunter. Hunter rated in the top 10 in the IBF as a cruiserweight. Guys don't want to fight him. He's very awkward, perhaps a little more awkward even than Sugarboy Malinga. Hunter recently fought Pinklin Thomas and won all 10 rounds, easily decisioning Thomas.
This is the 12th and final round. Charles, I got to challenge you. The next fight we do, I want you to come up with your all-nickname team, will you? As far as the fighters are concerned, come up with the all-nickname, will you? Bounty Hunter's got to be one of those. Malinga stalking, as he has since about the second round. Jarvis may have stole a mid-round in there, but not many, if any. So the career of John Jarvis at 34 years of age may be ebbing and flowing to an end right here. While Malinga may just be on the verge of a title fight again with Lindell Holmes. You can bet wherever that fight is that Cedric Kushner Productions will be there. There's the last fight of the 12th and final round. The champion and the challengers. And Sugarboy Malinga again getting a hug from Mac Lewis across the way. And very elated with his performance tonight, and rightly so, Charles. He has fought himself a very good fight here in Colombia.
Well, he did exactly what he wanted to do. His idea was not to go out there and knock John Jarvis out, but to frustrate Jarvis, take away a lot of his angles, give him different angles, take that punching power away, and outlast him to win the decision. And I think he's done exactly that.
We, by the way, if time permits, will be hoping to get a couple of words from what could be the newly crowned champion here in Colombia tonight, at Sugarboy Malinga, as he waits for the decision. And across the way, John Jarvis, fourth ranked by the IBF in the super middleweights behind the #1 contender, Sugarboy Malinga. But he may have seen what could be the comeback of 2.5 years absence suddenly come to a halt here tonight, as Malinga tactically used the left jab, the tactic of turning the left shoulder, taking the right hand away, and has literally outboxed the champion here tonight, John Jarvis from Richmond, Virginia. And if that does hold up, Malinga will keep his string alive of defeating his 7th consecutive American fighter. Has not lost. He is 7-0 if the decision goes his way. Malinga, one of those very soft-spoken type athletes. Doesn't let a lot of things bother him. This is not a comfortable place to come to fight. Quite obviously, everybody is cognizant of the problems in Bogota and Medellin. But here it appears, once again, the referee scared us to death when he upheld the hands of John Jarvis, just simply to get the applause for the champion, while Sugarboy Malinga is waiting for the official decision here. John Jarvis is right now trying to encourage the crowd to influence the judges. I don't think that's going to work. Sugarboy Malinga, meanwhile, is kind of playing through this. But let me get back to my point of coming all the way to Colombia. You have to have a certain sense of knowing where you are, and I think certainly Sugarboy Malinga knows that. What I mean by that is the fact that he knows what he can and cannot do. He was comfortable about coming in and fighting John Jarvis for this title, and really didn't let all of the distractions, the discomfort of the travel and the hotels and etc. distract him from what he wanted to do. John Jarvis may be getting his last hurrah.
Well, it's history now that John Jarvis got the decision. 2 American judges scoring it for Jarvis. In fact, the one giving it to him by 9 points. Can you believe that? And the other American judge scoring it even. Well, it wasn't a great fight, but it was justice done. To talk about the fight is Sugarboy's manager, Morris Towell. Morris, thanks very much for joining us in the studio this evening.
Good evening.
How did you see the fight?
Well, I saw the fight. I gave Sugarboy 8 rounds. I gave Jarvis 2 and 2 even.
You and the commentators as well, by the sounds of things. I've seen the fight, and it looks incredible that
I was a bit more generous.
Could have gone Jarvis's way. What is there that you can do about it as Sugarboy's manager?
Well, all I can do is protest, you know, and try and get the commission, the IBF commission rating committee to keep Sugarboy's rating and to try and get a rematch and a chance for either against him or Lyndon Holmes, because Sugarboy was #1 until Saturday night.
Now, if you were to take a rematch, isn't there a danger that the same thing could happen again?
Oh, yes. All depends where you fight, you know. Well, but, I mean, surely, I think Sugarboy probably take him out, knock him out this time.
Well, looking at the fight, the judges were all Americans. It wasn't as if they were locals from Colombia and could possibly have been bribed even.
Well, I don't know. I've got my own ideas about that. But the one guy, 72 years of age, was nothing wrong being 72. I'm 60. But the fact that a man of 72 can sit there and watch a fight and give 9 rounds to one, then the other judge gives by 1 round, and the third one makes it a draw. Believe me, where were they? They weren't in Colombia.
It looked like Sugarboy was moving forward, really, for most of the fight as well. Surely he scores points for that.
He does. Sugarboy hit him going forward, going back, sideways, every way possible. He was throwing punches, but every time he missed, Sugarboy counted. I mean, it's there to see it, and I am amazed at how they got this decision.
There's a big fiasco at the end as well when the referee didn't even read out the judges' scorecards.
Nobody knew who won or lost. And then on top of it, I spoke to the promoter yesterday, and he said to me that he's willing to put on the return match if he can do a deal with Cedric Kushner.
Of course, it was a big fight, a lot at stake, a fight with the IBF champion Lyndon Holmes. There's no chance, of course, of the result being overturned, is there?
No ways. You know, titles are won in the ring.
So you've got to go for a rematch somehow.
Well, I'd like to have a rematch. I'd love it to come here or in the States.
Does this mean Jarvis now goes to #1 in the IBF rankings?
Well, he was #4, so they'll definitely move him up. I don't know exactly how far, but probably #2.
How has Sugarboy taken it?
He's taken it very badly. Well, I mean, you know, if you lose, you also feel bad, but at least, you know, you lost. And boxers do know when they win and lose a fight. And he was very upset about it.
Well, that was very evident in the ring after the fight. I mean, there's a smiling Sugarboy. In fact, Jarvis's corner were congratulating Malinga as if he'd won the fight almost. If you look at the
the other guy his face was real sad with Jarvis. But when they put the belt on his midriff, he was in hysterics.
This must be something, of course, you fear, I guess, as a manager when you go and fight in some of these South American countries, Colombia, Venezuela.
Well, you fight anywhere, like any country, and the judges are not neutral. You've got a problem.
So, Morris, if you're not able to get a rematch, does this mean that Sugarboy's hopes of a fight against the IBF title holder, Lyndall Holmes, go up in smoke then, or what?
No, just setback temporary, and then I would get him matched against the number 1 and number 2, and if Sugarboy should win that, then he's back in a shot with Lyndall Holmes.
Well, Morris, I hope you get something worked out that's favourable for everybody concerned. Morris, thanks very much for joining us, and Sugarboy, good luck with that possible rematch.
Thanks very much.